we're gonna basically just show you how to get set up with your paint palette, brushes, paints, all that stuff, and I'm gonna share some important information, all right? So you can see we have those things. I actually have two paint palettes because I'm gonna set one up for tints, which is basically a color that is lightened with just white. And then the other with just a color wheel, starting with the primary colors, which are, yes, red, yellow, and blue. So, guys, we have our paints. They're in this red caddy. And right now we just have white, black, and our primary colors, yellow, red, blue. We have a water container that's half full. Now you can share water containers at your table, but ideally you're going to have your own, especially if you're cleaning out blue and then the person next to you is using yellow. Okay, do not fill it all the way, because once you bump it, you can see that almost sloshed out, and that was halfway. And you just want to make it easier on yourself. You don't want to be cleaning up when you can be painting. We also have the brushes, which this is in pretty good shape, except we have a couple brushes that are not bristle side up. So that is the number one thing. If all of you can just do your part, and if you see one that's bristle side up, flip it over. Guys, only clean brushes in here. When people put wet brushes down and they dry, they do this. They basically ruin the form or the shape of the brush, and we never quite get it back, all right? So if you find one that has a bunch of paint on it, then just put it in there, let it soak, we'll clean it up, and try to restore it to where we need it to be. You need your paper. I mentioned this today to some classes. Always put your name, date, and period on there on the back, because if you put it on the front, you're going to paint over it, you're going to lose it. You want it to come back to you as quickly and as easily as possible. So I started this today with for tints, just as a place to start. Students made a shape, divided it into 7 sections, and we're now at the point where we're setting the palette up just for a tint scale. Now, guys, you can set a palette up in so many different ways. Forgot one important thing. I have paper towel to blot my brush dry. So, guys, you don't want to put any excess paint, or excuse me, excess water in your paint so that it can be nice and thick. Tempera paint is supposed to go on heavy. It's not supposed to be translucent at all. So, back to the tint scale. Guys, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 kind of spots. That's going to leave us 5 areas to mix our colors. I usually end up with good intentions and then wind up just adding a new white. But I haven't used a ton of paint, and this is something to really consider, to be aware of. Guys, it takes experience to just know how much to use. And some of the paint comes out really fast and some of it comes out slow. So just be really mindful that you don't waste paint, okay? So I got my blue, I've already mixed that up. That's really light already. And what's gonna happen is that maybe it's gonna get lighter as you go, and it should, but often I just have to kind of work it and keep adding white to lighten it. And you want really distinct value ranges. So you can see I probably could have just made that my light blue. I'm gonna make it a little lighter by adding more white. But you want to see the changes. Now, I like to use 2 brushes when I do this so that I don't have to keep cleaning my brush. And that's one of the tricks that a lot of artists will do. I'm not worried about getting this perfect right now, but I can tell, man, I need to add more. And voila. So pretty much, guys, you are setting up your paint palette so that it's all mixed, it's all ready to go, and you can apply it right here, you know, without having to mix on the paper, okay? And we want these nice solid colors. We don't really want brush strokes. So in this one, I would want to mix this a little bit more so it's not black with white streaks. Now, guys, when it comes to the color wheel and your palette, here's my biggest recommendation. Look at your color wheel, go, okay, yellow's here, blue's here, red's here, and set it up like this. Take note, if you're gonna shake, you should shake up the palette. I don't have my words today, I'm sorry. You should shake up the bottle, but put your finger on the top because you don't want this to go flying. Woo! Sometimes they get gassy, all right? So pay attention. This is where it's gonna make a lot more sense if you say, okay, yellow's there, red's here. And I actually, for some reason, I always want to do this the other way. But that way you can really just compare what you're doing. Now guys, I generally say that if you put a dime size amount of paint, then it's going to spread to about quarter size, and that's really kind of ideal. Because if you put a quarter size piece of paint on there, it spreads, and then before you know it, you have no room to mix your colors, okay? So at this point, you know, I'm now gonna mix my secondary color orange with yellow and red. These colors, the yellow orange and the red orange, are called tertiary. Repeat after me, everyone. Tertiary.
Tertiary.
That's great. So guys, you know, here's where I grabbed kind of a big brush. Truth is I should not use a big brush right away. It's another big common mistake. Students waste a lot of paint doing that. And you kind of go from here. By the way, on your paper, put your primary colors down first because they're going to get really dirty really fast. So keep them pure, use a clean brush, and then go from there. As I look at this, I added yellow, but holy moly, that is still really, really red. So I know I've got to add more to it. And it's just a matter of really taking your time and getting it right. And you want to set up, again, not just your prime or secondary color of orange, your red orange and your yellow orange. And you want to do this first before you start putting paint on the paper. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to just mix away. You're going to find that when you get into this, you're just going to lose track of time. It's going to be really fun. And, you know, it's experience. You need the practice to know what is too much, what is too little. And you also even need to know, well, you need the practice to know when, like, for instance, you're not cleaning all the water off your brush. Paint's cool in that you can always just paint right over it once it dries. So let's get to making you know, primary, secondary, and tertiary colors, and have fun. Thanks.